Welcome back to the channel, gentlemen, and to that one unfortunate lady who clicked on this video thinking it was a makeup tutorial. I apologize. We're not talking about makeup. We're talking about the 6ARC. Why am I talking about this? I've made videos about this thing in the past, but I am swapping over to the 22ARC, and I figured, now is the time before this rifle barrel is swapped out, because yes, the 22ARC is going into this particular rifle because I know that this particular rifle is fairly accurate. I know that what I'm going to see with the 22ARC is going to be kind of indicative of good accuracy out of a good rifle. So we will be swapping over, but I want to wrap up the 6ARC because I'm not going to have a 6ARC rifle on hand coming up here shortly. If you're watching this video and you consider yourself a base person, yet you're not subscribed, maybe consider fixing that issue and subscribing, because you are a base person. Also, I've noticed 1% of my subscribers has their notifications on. So if you're subscribed to me, or you are subscribing to me, please hit that notification button, because 1% is pretty bad. And yes, this is a bolt gun in 6ARC. I know it's kind of goofy, but the reason being is I can run higher pressures in this rifle and be safe. And being that I was hand loading, I didn't want an accidental hot round getting into an AR-15 and damaging the bolt, because the bolts on an AR-15 are not designed to have such a large diameter case in it. And so to accommodate those large diameter cases, they had to cut more material away from the bolt face. And so an AR-15 bolt face that is 6ARC or 6.5 Grendel is weaker. And I had experienced that in the past with my 6.5 Grendel, that the bolt face in fact was weaker, and I had parts breakage before on my 6.5 Grendel. So I went with the bolt gun option. This thing is phenomenally accurate. We're talking sub MOA all day, very comfortable to shoot, more comfortable than my 6.5 Creedmoor, less concussive, which is a huge thing, because when you're sitting there at the range, you can run through rounds, but even if you got earplugs in and earmuffs on, if you put enough rounds down range, you're going to start feeling the pressure in your head from that constant firing of a rifle. And so this thing being so light on the concussive nature of it makes it very pleasant to shoot for extended periods of time with large round counts downrange. This thing's awesome. This is my Savage 110 Tactical, and you've seen it on the channel before if you've been on my channel for any length of time. This was my go-to. This thing is so good, it replaced my 243, and it semi-replaced my 17 HMR. So before I owned this gun, I owned a 243, and I still own my 17 HMR, but this thing bridged the gap between those two cartridges so well. This thing is just a brilliant round for a rifle like this. There's been very few cases and scenarios where I was out hunting with this rifle for groundhog or coyote that I went, man, I need more juice behind this cartridge. Because 300 yards, this thing is slick out to 300 or 500 yards. 300 to 500 yards, it's awesome. Past that, it really starts to fall off if you're using these smaller varmint bullets. Now, if you're using the factory loaded ammo, which right now the factory loaded ammo, there's the classic three options that we've been kind of accustomed to: the Hornady Black, the Hornady Match, and the Hornady Precision Hunter ammo. Those three rounds, even though they're pretty good bullets, those rounds really aren't suited for varmint hunting. So this cartridge right here kind of can be a great cartridge for varmint hunting if you hand load. Now, not to say that you couldn't use those other cartridges for varmint hunting, because you absolutely could. In fact, if you wanted to save a pelt on a coyote, I'd almost recommend that you use the Precision Hunter from Hornady, just because those heavier bullets are going to hold together. These things are going to grenade on impact like a varmint bullet is typically known to do. So keep that in mind. If you do not hand load, those are the only options. Now Hornady is coming out with their new varmint round, and that one will be chambered in the 6ARC. So there will be a varmint cartridge for the 6ARC. That's going to be nice. There's going to be factory loaded ammo that's going to be varmint oriented. That is what this cartridge has been missing. That was the biggest handicap to this cartridge for me recommending this cartridge to the people. Just because what are you going to use a 6mm bullet for? Well, you could use it for deer, you could use it for hogs, but it really is a good varmint cartridge for your groundhogs, even a predator cartridge for your coyotes. So that's really the sweet spot that I'm like, man, Hornady really missed out, because this thing's been out for 3 or 4 years now, and now they're finally giving us a cartridge, a factory loaded ammo option that is good for varminting. It just took them a long time. Now, that being said, I know people who say that the Hornady factory ammo for 6ARC is awesome, it's brilliant. This rifle outright hates it. Now, this rifle, I throw any ammo together, I can almost guarantee, as long as the bullet is of high quality, the components there I'm using are of high quality, this thing's going to present me with a sub MOA group. I can almost guarantee it, because this thing is just so accurate, and that's just how good it is. Now, that being said, it hates the factory ammo. It really, really hates the factory ammo. For whatever weird reason, this rifle hates factory ammo. And I know a fellow, I have a friend that has a 6ARC and a Savage Axis, and he says the same thing. So I don't know what it is about the Savage rifles. I hate the factory ammo, but the factory ammo just gives it fire. So, you know, it's been a year and 2 months since I've had this gun. What is kind of like the thoughts I have about the 6ARC? Is it going to survive the 22 ARC? Yes, I think it is. The reason being is, like I said before, you could take a hog with this rifle. You could take a deer with this rifle. I did take a deer with this rifle. I don't think that there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be taking deer and hogs with the 22 ARC. So that being said, I think that the 6ARC is going to survive. It's going to truck through. It's going to lose some support from the varminting community just because, hey, it's a 22 bullet. What do you know? There's almost nothing better than a 22 bullet for varminting. You know, there's the 20s and then the 17s, but usually people like to keep within the 22 diameter bullets for varminting. It's just kind of typical. So I think that this cartridge is here to stay. The fact that you can put in an AR-15, cool factor. Again, bolt gun. I am a fan of bolt guns, just because they're a little bit more accurate than a typical AR-15. Not to say AR-15s are not accurate. I'm just saying I like this a little bit more. So, what can you expect from downrange for this cartridge? So, 18-inch barrel. I know that there's 20 and some 24-inch barrels out there for these guns. That being said, I've had no real impediments from the 18-inch barrel. It is a little bit slower. My velocities are a little bit slower, but we're talking maybe 100 foot per second slower. So it's really not that big of a deal. So at range, out to 700 yards, this thing is stupid consistent as long as the wind's not crazy. So the bullet in particular that I found that really, really works with this, there's two bullets that I found really work with this. The Sierra 107 grain bullets, the Match King ones, those are pretty awesome in this cartridge. And the Barnes Match 112. Both those cartridges are really, really good for long range. Now, the majority of the bullets that I've shot out of this are the lower BC smaller projectiles, the 58 grains, the 75 grains, the smaller stuff, because that's what I was using it for. That being said, you can consistently hit a steel plate at 700 yards with a decent 6-arc rifle. Now, at 1,000 yards, which is kind of what this cartridge was touted for, was to be able to hit 1,000 yards with an AR-15 all the time, every time. Not really. 1,000 yards, you're losing a lot of juice, and the wind moves that bullet around a lot. If I'm not mistaken, you're just barely supersonic at 1,000 yards, so it really, really hurts this bullet. That lower velocity really hurts this cartridge out at that extended ranges. Not to say you couldn't do it. I've done it before. I shot 1,000 yards with this thing, but to shoot to 1,100, not happening. I've done that before too, but to say that you could doesn't mean that it's easy or that it's doable all the time. You know, I've seen people shoot, 22-250 out to 1,000 yards. Yeah, they could do it, but it's not something that you're going to consistently do. You know, any rifle can be 1,000-yard rifle, but it's more about the consistency of whether you're hitting it every single time or not. So if I had that extra 100 foot per second from a longer barrel, yeah, it probably would be easier. But from my experience, that's not been the case. So in summary, the 6 ARC it's gonna stay around.